A lot of those people in those groups weren't really given mental health conversations in school from their parents. And so they've been taught to mask how they feel, to mask their emotions, and to deal with it all because they haven't really dealt with their inner child. We've done a lot of research when it comes to suicide ideation. It's not the person that they want to kill, it's the pain, it's the hurt, because they feel alone. Your mental health has to be the priority, because if you don't take care of your mental health, it's going to affect you physically, and it's going to eventually affect your business. You will fail at your business. You will fail if you don't take care of yourself.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Walk to Wealth podcast. If you're tuning in on YouTube or any of the podcast directories, make sure to do us one small favor. Make sure to give us a follow, not for us, but so you cannot miss a beat. We're bringing on amazing guests all year this year, and I don't want you to be the one that misses out on the newest episode. So make sure to give us a follow. We're going to get right into this one. Without further ado, Justin, for anyone who hasn't had the opportunity to hear your story or hear what you got going on, tell us your quick elevator pitch. Who are you and what do you do?
Hey, first of all, John, just appreciate the opportunity of being on your show here, and I hope, again, that we can bring some value, have a really great conversation. My name is Justin Little. I have a podcast called the Mental Wealth Podcast. It's currently heard in about 45 different countries. We've been doing it since April of 2021, and the idea of that podcast is just to talk about mental health, to have open dialogue, conversations. I open up and are very intimate about my life, my journey with mental health, my trauma, things I've gone through. I tell people all the time, like, listen, if you want to get to know me, listen to the pod. Like, there's a bunch, but it's all there. And then I also pivot and then bring on guests, therapists, clinical psychologists, mental health speakers, people who are doing work in mental health, and have them open up about their story and their message and things that they're doing in the community. So that takes up a lot of my time. I also get a chance to travel the country speaking at events about mental health. And I'm certified in psychological first aid from Johns Hopkins University. So that helps me with kind of just being some sort of peer support. One of the things I really love about what I do is each Sunday for the past almost 2 years, I host a virtual support group on Clubhouse, an audio platform. And we talk about a variety of mental health topics. It's called the Mental Wealth and Wellness Club. And it's about 4,000 members in our community. So we've built that community, and it's just a chance for us to come together as a community and have conversations. So I love doing that. I love speaking. I love going out there. And I'm also a part of a few nonprofit organizations as well, too, when it comes to mental health. So that's me in a nutshell, just a advocate, a survivor myself of suicide ideations, and just someone who feels like if we can just talk more about the things that we've been told forever to not talk about, we're going to help destigmatize the idea of mental health.
Yeah, no, I love it, man. And let's dive into it a little bit. Take us in the time machine. Where did this journey all begin? Where does your walk to wealth start? Like, take us back to your childhood. What was that like growing up, and how did that have a play into who you are today?
Yeah, I mean, I had a good childhood. I mean, in the sense of, we were provided for physically. In a two-parent household. I had some siblings. I will say that emotionally, there was some lacking there, right? Like, emotional needs were looked over, and a lot of emphasis was kind of put on looking perfect, trying to be perfect in school and our faith. There was a lot of pressure put on us because my dad had an elevated, seat in our religion, and so it was like, a lot to live up to, right? But for me, the way I dealt with things, I kind of acted out. I was a bad kid in school. I was very smart, I think, intelligently, like academically based. But when it came to like behavior, I was messing up. I was kicked out of school a couple of times, getting suspended. That was just my way of just acting out because I didn't really know how to truly express my feelings, my emotions, my anger, my frustration. So I just did it in all the wrong ways. And so I got to a point, I also struggled with obesity. I was very heavy as a kid. I was teased for my weight, and that was very traumatic as well, being bullied as a kid. And so I got to a point, maybe around 14 or 15, and I started cutting. I was a self-harmer, and it wasn't necessarily in the beginning to try to kill myself. It was more so just a way to deal with the pain. And my parents started to see the cuts on me, and I remember they took me to a psychologist and a psychiatrist and a psychologist, or I think there's a difference. There was two different. There was one folk for like therapy group, like group therapy, and it was like a therapist I talked to. Then there was another. She wasn't able to prescribe me medicine, so I know she wasn't a doctor. she wasn't clinical. She was more of the behavior based. And then there was another guy I saw, I think his name was Dr. Parker, and he was the guy who prescribed me medicine. So I was diagnosed with severe depression and ADHD, and I was medicated for several years.
So let me dive into this a little bit, if you don't mind. Let's explore this, because for me personally, I've had cousins who kind of been going through some similar things, but it was never my place to say something because, one, I should have even known to begin with. But it's like, those things are hard, and it comes by, usually it's a lot more common than most people think. It's like, and sometimes we have an opportunity to help. So let me ask you, what was that like? So you're now your teenage years, you didn't know how to really cope with what you got doing or you were experiencing, right? So you started cutting yourself. What was that kind of like, if you don't mind us diving deep into this? So kind of get into an understanding for someone that may have not gone through it, so we can get some understanding. What was that like in your head mentally? Like, what were you thinking? What was going on?
Well, I felt like no one understood me. I felt like no one, I didn't feel a safe space to talk about what I was feeling. And growing up in the late 90s, early 2000s, and also in a Black family, minority base, mental health isn't really a topic. It's something that's laughed at.
Yeah.
You're tall, you just crazy, you just acting up. Like, no, there's some things are wrong with me, and you aren't understanding that. And I don't understand it. And there's no support there. And, the relationship with my parents, while again, we were provided for physically, there was really no mental health conversations until they saw me attempt to take my life, right? Until I was running away from home as a teenager and being brought home by the cops. That's when so it took me having to like get to a certain point, like, oh my God, well, maybe we really need, I've been telling you this for years, but now it's like, now you're forced to see it. And so it was a feeling of loneliness, feeling like I was trapped and no one could ever understand me for how I'm feeling. And that just led to just me wanting to give up on life.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate you sharing that. And it's something that so many people never, ever hear, especially early on in your teenage years, because everyone, first of all, just classifies teenage years as rebellious years. So it's like, you're a rebel. So it's like, you can't even say anything because you're already labeled a rebel to begin with. So let me ask you, so from the cutting and the attempt on your own life, what was the moment that made things turn around? Or what was the series of moments that led to things turning around for the better?
If I'm being honest, it wasn't in my teenage years. I mean, I stopped cutting at some point. I mean, I did get help. I was going to group therapy. I was on medication. But if I'm being honest with you, my feelings never changed. I just learned how to mask them. So, I mean, it got to a point where, my parents took me, they got me help, and the therapy helped, but that didn't last forever. They didn't want me in therapy forever. They pulled me out of school for a little bit. I mean, I just went on to still perform at school, graduate high school, go into college for a little bit. If I'm being honest, my healing journey didn't really start until probably 2 or 3 years ago. After stopping medication, stopping therapy in my late teens, so like 18, 19, going into my 20s, I just learned to medicate differently. I just, did it through drinking and partying and doing rebellious things that could somehow temporarily help me mask what I was really feeling. Because there still wasn't a permanent safe space. So I still been holding, and I'm still, even to this day, as we speak now, there's still some traumas that I'm holding on to that I'm still trying to heal from my childhood, that I still have to work through therapy, through my self-work, because I'm 30 now, I'm 30 years old. I'll be 31 in August. But I've gone through so much, and there's still so much wounds that are there that I never really got a chance to heal. And I'm just really beginning to start that work now.
Yeah, so like a lot of my listeners right now are in that age group, that 18 to 22, the college years, the party years, the drink till you can't drink no more years, right? For anyone that might not be aware that why they're doing it is because they have all these things hidden under the rug, what could you start, what advice could you suggest so that we can start becoming a little bit more aware of some of these things that we may be doing without realizing that there's a deeper, big thing behind it, pulling the strings that's really have us, has a grip on our life that we may not be aware of right now. What are some of the things that you can share to help us start recognizing some of those things?
Yeah, because, when you're 18 to 22 in that range that we talked about, you think you know everything, but you don't know anything at all. And as someone told me one time, I think it might be a quote from Oprah, you just don't know how much you don't know. And so think about it from the perspective of a lot of your listeners, a lot of those people in those groups weren't really given mental health conversations in school from their parents. And so they've been taught to mask how they feel, to mask their emotions, and to deal with it to refuse help. I'm struggling, but I'm not going to tell anyone. They suffer in silence. And so they, like you said, they might go and they might drink, they might, do drugs, they might, go out there and be promiscuous when it comes to sexual activities, all because they haven't really dealt with their inner child. They haven't dealt with the emotion and the hurt. You see, when a lot of people, we've done a lot of research when it comes to suicide ideation, it's not the person that they want to kill, it's the pain, it's the hurt, because they feel alone. So imagine being 19, 20 years old, and now high school's over, you're an adult now, and now you have to figure this out. You have to go to college, you have to go get a job. Maybe you're away from home for the first time. And honestly, you're probably not really prepared to be an adult. You go back to school and think about all the classes that they gave us, and how much of that stuff are you still using today? Not much of it.
Yeah.
The practical stuff they skip. It would have been good to learn about how to do my taxes, how to write checks, and how to balance and budget. You weren't really given that stuff. They taught you trigonometry. They taught you how to dissect the frog. Well, most people are never going to use that in their adult years. And so in many respects, young people that age are set up to fail because they aren't prepared to be adults when it comes to physically. And then you weren't really given mental health and mindfulness work. So now you're out here in the real world trying to figure it out, and there's not a lot of support there for you. Those folks really need to look in the mirror and examine their experiences, their feelings, their emotions, and find a safe space to express whatever they're feeling. Find a support group, find a safe group of folks that you can be around and express both positive and negative emotions, and then you can begin to deal with that pain.
Yeah, and I love that. And I think this is a perfect segue into the conversation, because only about 1 or 2% of the world is like quote unquote entrepreneurs, have their own businesses, right? And then from there, 9 out of 10 businesses fail within 5 years, right? So to be a successful, not even in terms of like making millions of dollars, but just to be a business that doesn't fail within 5 years, you're already part of a small percentage of the population. And you mentioned earlier on in your story too, that you felt alone, that you felt that there was, by yourself. And if you're an entrepreneur, the amount of people you could probably reach out to that even understand what you're going through is very limited. Now, if you're an entrepreneur and you're successful, the circle gets even smaller as you go, for people that can understand, not only from, just being able to have empathy and understand, but from having their own personal experience that have gone through similar things. So let me ask you, for entrepreneurship and mental health, where do you see those kind of worlds kind of combined? Because a lot of times we're taught this hustle culture, this hustle mentality. You got to work, so 80, 100, 120 hours a week and just slave your life away, and just because for the sake of entrepreneurship and starting your own business. So like, where do these two worlds combine? Because a lot of the times they're not really talked about.
Well, let's start with the idea, and this goes specifically mostly to our men, because a lot of the work I do is with men, but obviously there's women and women entrepreneurs, and it's going to be valid. As men, though, a lot of our value, John, is associated with what we can provide, right? As men, we've been taught to perform, that we are providers. And then the moment when we feel like we can't, we start to feel low. Like there's this joke from a Chris Rock comedy special where he jokes that men aren't unconditionally loved. Everyone else is, but not men, because we're loved. Yeah. You know that joke, right?
Bro, I was thinking about literally while you're talking, I think you said like only women and dogs are loved unconditionally.
Yes.
Men aren't, or something like that.
Yes.
Bro, I knew you were going to go with that, bro.
Yes.
I was right here with you.
He said, we're loved on the condition that we provide something. He says, then he ends it. He says, if you never saw a wife say, as soon as he lost his job, we got closer. Now, it's not to say that women are just with the man but we understand that we have this pressure to provide. So the first message I want to say to both men and women is understand that your value isn't tied to what you do or what you can give or what's in your bank account. There's value in just you existing. There's value in you just being alive today, listening to this podcast, doing whatever you do and being here, because there's so many people who didn't make it to the age you are right now and never will, because this is the world that we live in. So be grateful, practice gratitude, and understand that your value is just in you existing. So before you ever get to trying to build a business and whatever you want to do for your career, your life, understand that your value should not be attached to your achievements. It should be attached to yourself, who you are as an individual, as a human being, just you being here. And then as with that thought in mind, I think about someone and starting a business and all the work that you have to go through. When I ask folks out there in the field, I say, John, I says, do you know what self-care is? They're like, what's self-care? They don't know what self-care is. Do you intentionally take out time for yourself, to give yourself grace, to take breaks, to practice gratitude? Whatever that looks like for you could be different from person to person. But a lot of folks are getting burnt out and are stressing themselves out and aren't giving themselves time to just breathe, live in the moment, and absorb. It doesn't mean that you aren't dedicated to your business or to your craft, but you still have to have balance, because if you don't have balance, you're going to burn out. Your mental health has to be the priority, because if you don't take care of your mental health, it's going to affect you physically, and it's going to eventually affect your business. You will fail at your business. You will fail if you don't take care of yourself. So the two things have to work together. They have to be tied to each other, because if you don't look after yourself and intentionally buy out that time to take care of your most valuable asset, how can you ever be of service to anyone else? I'll conclude with the thought, I like to fly. We obviously met not long ago down in Florida. What's the first thing they almost always tell you on the plane, the flight attendants? Hey, in the case of an emergency, if there's a loss of cabin air pressure, and you have the oxygen mask comes down, put on your oxygen mask, secure it before you can help someone else. Naturally, as human beings, some of our natural go-to is to help people around us, because we're good people. We're selfless people. A lot of us are. But in certain instances, you have to be selfish. In certain instances, you have to take care of yourself, because in that emergency, I'm no good to the person next to me if I'm not breathing, if I haven't given myself what I need. And so it's the same in business. Take care of you, make sure that you have what you need, that you're looking out for yourself. And then that's going to automatically make you not only a better human being, but a better entrepreneur to whoever your customer base is.
No, I love that you mentioned those three things. I want to just recap those things just so in case it went over anyone's head. So you talked about your value not being attached to the amount that you can provide or the work that you can put out. It's attached to you just being you and just living, breathing, being alive. You also mentioned there too that pretty much that you have to take care of yourself as well. You can't fill, pretty much what you're saying is you can't pretty much pour from an empty cup. You got to be pouring from the overflow, right? You can't be pouring from an empty cup if you're not focusing on yourself. And it made me think of some random thought. But while you were talking, I was thinking how many selfless people masquerade as virtuous. And in reality, they're just, not actually showing up as the best version of themselves because they never focus on themselves. And I always talk about myself too. I've been guesting on a couple of podcasts, and you have to. Someone told me this in a parking lot. One of my guys after a workout, he was saying that we are the center of our own world. We're not the center of the world. So if there's 7 billion people on this planet, that's 7 billion different worlds. So it's like you have to realize that in your own world, you are the most important thing. So you have to focus on that so that you can show up in the overall world as the best version of you. And so many people say, choose the road of being selfless at the expense of themselves, right? You have to be selfish in order to be selfless, because if you don't take care of yourself, then you'll never be able to fully take care of the people that you want to. You won't be able to fully show up as that entrepreneur that you want to, and fully show up as the best version of you to your clients, to your family, to your friends, or whoever may that be. And as you mentioned too, it'll eventually lead to burnout. And we're taught to almost demonize the idea of being selfish. Like, if you're selfish, you're a bad person. But it's not selfish in a way that's like, I don't care about other people. It's like, no, I care about myself so much that I'm going to take care of myself first so I can show up as the best version of myself for other people. Because 50% of you isn't the same as 100% of you. So if you're not all there, if you're not taking care of yourself, you're not going to be able to help in a way that you could potentially had you been taking care of yourself. And so I kind of want to ask you too a little bit, because I'm super curious. So this mental health journey, what was it like for you now that you started healing, but you already were speaking and going on stages and spreading the message while on your journey of healing at the same time, right? You didn't wait until, hey, I'm fully healed now. Let me now start making an impact in the world. You've been making an impact while you've been healing. Give us some advice in that area of like, a lot of people have this imposter syndrome that they can't do it until they get to a certain stature. They can't do it unless they have a certain, acronym or letter behind their name, some credential of some sort, a degree, a doctorate, or whatever, a PhD, a CPA, all these different letters. What was it like making the impact while on your journey of healing?
That's a great question. Yeah. So, first of all, I think we live in a society where we try to value like perfection, and that's not reality.
Yeah.
Like you have to be perfect or you have to have never made any mistakes. Now, I want to talk to the people who've made mistakes, because the people who make mistakes and have failed, there's so many quotes out there for, Michael Jordan, for all the shots that I missed. He valued the shots that he missed because it made it more special when he made the shots, right? Like there's so many entrepreneurs, the Steve Jobs, the Oprahs of the world, the Walt Disneys. They told Walt Disney he was crazy. They said he was a crazy man. He's passed away now, but look what he created. Some of the best creators have come from failure, from being told, that they weren't enough or failing at something else. Michael Jordan being cut from a basketball team. So I think we assume that we have to have had it all figured out to speak or to influence other people. I think for me, healing is always an evolving process. It's always something that is continuing to develop. And I wanted to share my truth. And that was part of the healing process. Me actually getting on a stage and talking to a group of young folks or any crowd about my story was cathartic, was a way for me to cope and heal, because now as a young man, I was told to kind of box all those emotions in and not to express them. Now I'm on stage as expressing them. I'm doing the exact opposite. So that itself is healing. And then think about the audience. The audience typically wants to hear from folks who've been there. I'm not speaking to you as just some guy who just read a book. I'm speaking to you as a guy who's lived it. In fact, a lot of the clinical psychologists that I partner with, because I don't ever claim to be a mental health professional. I claim mental health expert and having expertise and being an advocate and being a survivor. I'm not a licensed mental health professional, but a lot of the licensed mental health professionals, John, that I work with, they love people like me and what I do, because sometimes folks who really need to get mental health healing, they won't go see a doctor. They get nervous by being in a community with someone, Dr. So-and-so, or this clinical therapist, all these accolades. You know what? A lot more people respond to everyday people just like you. Just having a conversation as people, as men, as women, just being there to support and show up for them. And so I'm able to reach a different type of audience, because I don't come to them as some guy with some fancy smancy degree. I come to you as, hey, I'm just like you. I'm still battling myself. And on my podcast, I use it as an opportunity to be authentic to my audience. I tell them when I'm struggling. I've had emotional episodes when I've gone on there and cried and been like, I've been feeling like giving up. I've been hurting. I've been going through things. Everything in my life I've gone through in the last year, going through lost friendships, going through a divorce, going through a fallout with my father. I haven't spoke to him in almost a year. I talk about it all on my podcast, because I want my audience to see me for me, not trying to be perfect, not trying to be I'm the mental health guy that never has any problems. No, I'm the mental health guy who cares about you, but I'm also going through things daily. And I want you to see that, to normalize it. I don't want to hide from it. And I believe that my audience tunes into me because they appreciate that genuineness. They appreciate that transparency. They appreciate me being authentic to myself.
Bro, I love that you bring that up. Like literally right before we hopped onto this, bro. So I was in the real estate training last year around this time. And part of the training, we had to write a letter to ourselves a year later. And the lady who was running the training, I just got my letter today. And bro, I was looking through the list. I was recording my episode. So I was going to post an interview so the day after we're recording this is a Friday. I was going to drop it for tomorrow from the day after recording this. And I was like, going through this list of everything I had, and like on the entire list, bro, I'm like 3 for 22 based off of what I wrote down for what I was going to accomplish last year. But it's like sharing that stuff, bro, because last year I was so convinced that real estate was going to be my thing. And around September of last year, I completely pivoted. I don't focus on real estate at all. I still have an active license, but like this is what I really want to get going on. So like this year, I've been making it a priority to share the ups and the down. So like in January, I did like a My Walk in January where I shared my ups and downs for that month. February did the same thing. March, I'm gonna keep doing the same thing, just like sharing it like yourself that, hey, I'm not this guy who just interviewing other guys. Like I'm trying to figure out this entrepreneurship stuff myself. I'm trying to build a life by design myself. And I always use this analogy when I hop on other shows is that the reason why I feel people tune into my show is that I'm still at the dock. Right. Most people, they wait till they go out to set sail and go out in the middle of the sea. And it's like, hey, the waters aren't that bad. Come on board. Like they're already all the way out at sea. You can't resonate with that. I'm still literally at the dock, still trying to load up the cargo, still trying to build my ship so I can get set sail. I'm right there in, like you were saying, like I'm a normal guy still. I'm still within arm's reach. And even when I do start setting sail, I'll still be that same normal guy. And can't no one say that, oh, I came up, it was overnight. It was like, nah, I've been documenting this. I've been sharing this. I've been transparent. I've been telling people that money side. I've been telling people that, hey, I couldn't pay this and that, all that stuff. And it's all part of the journey. So I kind of want to ask you now, part of your journey has been helping others while you're on the journey. So many people get caught up with summits. So many people get caught up with goals and things they want to accomplish. How could one start to become more appreciative of the journey? You mentioned earlier, practicing gratitude. If you want to dive deeper into that, like share with us some ways to do that, because I feel like I've been, from personal experience, that gratitude is the highest form of energy and there's nothing that beats it. But how do we start being okay with the journey when everyone's just want to be so goal driven, so results oriented and stuff, and not realizing that there's always going to be more goals and more summits to climb. And it's this journey that we play the game for. Not the end boss, not the end goal. It's this journey that we're on.
Yeah, it starts with contentment, being content with what you currently have and what because, J. Cole says it in one of my favorite songs. It's called Love Yours. He says there's always going to be a badder girl on the tour, someone with a bigger house, nicer clothes, more money, but you're never going to be happy until you love yours. So ask yourself, do you love you? Do you love what you have? And if not, why is that? Because we look at these celebrities, we look at these millionaires and successful people and just assume that they just got there overnight. We ignore the path to get there. We just look at the results and we forget about all the failures or forget about all the, hey, you might have had goals that you set that you didn't hit. Let's talk about it. Let's be honest about those goals. And when I'm looking at these celebrities and I'm reading their stories, I'm always interested to hear about the come up, not where you are now, not about how fancy the house is and how fancy the boat is now. Tell me about when you were broke, when you didn't have nothing. Tell me about the failures. Tell me about the learnings, because that is what makes it special. And then at some point, once we get to where we're going, again, it goes back to being content and grateful for what you have. So to break down gratitude, one of the things I do with my room every Sunday, we close with gratitude. We go around the room, we say, hey, what's one thing that you're grateful? We might have talked about deep, dark traumas, depression, anxiety. We might have had a heavy conversation, but let's end it with affirmations. And what's one thing that we're grateful? So that I think daily we should be waking up, being grateful for life, being grateful for our homes, being grateful for whatever it is. Just pick one thing and think about it each night before you go to bed or when you get up in the morning and say, I'm grateful for this. Practice it. Because no matter what you might be missing, there's something that you have that's special that lives within you. There's a reason why you're still here. So think about that. And then also, I think affirmations are important, affirming yourself. How you speak to yourself. It's interesting how we'll be so negative on ourselves. We'll talk to ourselves in some of the worst ways possible. And we'll be polite to everyone else, but be rude to ourselves. How do you speak to you? How do you encourage yourself? Are you your biggest champion? Because part of affirmation, sometimes you're saying things that you don't necessarily see, but you're speaking it into existence. I'm beautiful. I'm smart. I am worthy. I am greatness. Whatever you have to say. One of my favorites is I am, I can, I will. I say it every day, every morning, and every night. And no matter how good or how bad today was, I reflect, I pause, and I say to myself, I'm still here. I'm still standing. I'm still strong, and I have the ability to impact, to influence others, and to bring value into other people's lives. So I think if we can find a way individually to be content what we have, to be grateful for what we have. It doesn't mean that we can't want more. Because see, that's the other thing too. People say, well, if I can be grateful, if I want more, does that mean I'm not grateful? You can always set new goals and aspirations for yourself. But if you aren't grateful and content for where you are, and you're always setting new goals, you're always striving for more, you're going to just be like a hamster on a hamster wheel going in circles, and that's going to drive you crazy. You have to get to a point where, hey, look, at my job, I love my job. I'm content with the job I have. I make great money. I do well. I got great benefits. I have great colleagues. It doesn't mean that I'm not looking or want to be open to new opportunities to grow, but I love what I do. I'm happy and grateful that I have what I have. And that's something that can't be taken away. There's a lot of people, John, I believe are missing that. And because they miss that, it drives their mental health crazy.
No, that's super deep, bro. Because as I said earlier, like there's always another summit to climb. And just because you break free from the rat race, a lot of people find themselves in another pretty much hamster wheel, another trap where it's like never ending, not enough, or never ending. There's always something more, never ending. And they never, as I said, appreciate the journey, bro. And so I want to ask you too, that because when it comes to entrepreneurship, right, a lot of people, they get in there and they start getting some success. And then as they get some more success and then they get some more success, I feel like sometimes a lot of people lose sight of what they were in it for once they start becoming more successful and they start, reaching new heights that they probably didn't think was possible. How can we stay grounded to who we truly are so that we don't lose ourselves, so that we can still be that same normal guy that we were when we once started, right? How do we stay true to that?
Yeah, I mean, that can look different for every person, but I'll speak to myself personally, and maybe it can resonate. And before I do, it's interesting you said that, because one of my favorite, I love music. I'm a big music guy, and Drake is one of my favorite artists of all time. And there's a line in one of his songs where he says, sometimes I wish I was where I was back when I used to wish I was here. Super deep. Sometimes I wish I was where I was back when I used to wish I was here. And he's talking about the feeling of, hey, obviously Drake is very successful, lots of money, but sometimes I miss that feeling of the chase, of the grind, of the journey. Because once you get to a certain point, it's like, all right, what else do I have to accomplish? And so for me, again, while I am content with where I'm at, I never forget where I came from and how hard things have been for me, and who's helped me along the way, who's been a part of that journey, some of the things that got me here, right? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So if me practicing self-care, or me in therapy, or a certain friend group, or something that I've been doing that's been working for me and helped me get to the journey, I don't want to get to a point wherever I forget that. I want to stay grounded by surrounding myself with people who see me for who I am, not see me for what I've achieved. Because that's got to be a challenge too, right? You think about entrepreneurship, a lot of folks may be just trying to get to a point where they're successful. Think about the pressure of someone being successful to stay successful. Because once you're there, to try to keep that level of success and what you've acquired. And then also too, once you are successful, are the people around me, are they here just because of what I have? Or are they here because of who I am? And a lot of people will tell you, people who are very rich and successful, is that they value more their friends and family who were there before the come up. A lot of these celebrities are with the same woman they were with in high school because, hey, look at LeBron James, high school sweetheart, been with her for his entire life, a sterling example of a black man raising a black family. He's never been caught out here with other women, any other stories about him, his kids. He's been with the same woman. Think about that. So surround yourself with people who know the real you, who see value in you. Going back to what we said before, your value isn't in what you provide. Your value starts with who you are as a person. So does your community, does your strength, the people around you, do they see you for who you are, not for what you can provide, not for what you do, not for the results, but they love you for exactly who you are? That's important. And for me, that keeps me grounded.
Bro, I love what you said there. And there's something that I need to start looking into. It's called the weight of gold. And I've been listening to podcasts, and for whatever reason, it's crazy how God works, because it's like you just keep hearing the same message over and over again on different things. It's like, I need to look more into this. But I recently found out that people have a fear of success. And then I found out about the thing of like the weight of gold. And like everyone strives to be successful. Not everyone, but a lot of people strive to be successful, but there's things that come with it that you may have not knew when you first signed up for this journey that you might have been on. And as you said, bearing the weight of someone that has 10 employees, 20 employees, 100 employees. Yeah, you're successful. Yeah, you're probably making a lot of money. You probably have a lot of things going well for you. But if you don't keep on executing at the level that you need to sustain all of that, that's just not you now that's crumbling down. It's all the other lives that are now working with you or working for you, whose lives are going to be affected as well. So now you can't even operate as freely almost sometimes because it's like, man, the weight of gold, man. You wanted the gold and now you got it. And now it's like, man, this is a lot heavier than I expected. And I'm a Drake fan as well. So I'm going to follow up with another Drake quote, right? He said, sometimes I wish I could go back in life, not to change, just to feel a couple things twice, right? A lot of people always talk about the things that they would want to change. Oh, I would do this differently. And it's like, as you said, when you get to that pinnacle of success, when you get to that place where it's like, what more, is there more? He said in another song, it was just like, is there more? I forget which song. I think it was one of the interludes. But like, you get to that point, it's like, you just have to, as I said, practice gratitude. Be open, be authentic, be transparent along the way. Because, man, all the people that have it all will trade it all to come back to where you got to. Because you get to a certain point. Is there more? There's only so much we could do, right? And there's only so much money can buy. It gets to a point where it's like, you could buy everything in the world. What else? And so it's like, a lot of people don't understand the weight of gold and how that actually can play a role. And I think as we kind of started wrapping up here, man, you dropped a lot of golden nuggets. And for the best of my ability, I'm trying to recap everything. Some of the biggest points that I really want my listeners to take away here is you mentioned the importance of knowing that your value is internal, not external. It comes from you, and it doesn't come from you achieving. It comes from you just being you. I think that was definitely my biggest takeaway. I love your Drake quote. Say it one more time again. So because I just forgot it.
Yeah. I think the quote you gave was from, I think the quote you gave was from 6 p.m. in New York. And he said 28 at midnight. I wonder what's next for me. Longevity. Yeah.
Want to learn how to check with me.
Yeah. I used that when I turned 28. I used that quote. That was a caption straight up. But no, my quote was, sometimes I wish I was where I was back when I used to wish I was here. And one other thing to touch on what you just talked about living things twice. Yeah. One other quick piece of advice is make sure you take the time to enjoy the journey. Don't put yourself on any other timetable but your own. Don't compare yourself to other people, because we get caught up in saying, I'm not where I want to be because of him or her, or, you start to look at what everyone else is doing. You have to focus on yourself and what your standards are. Because there's people at 23 who are homeowners, and there's people at 23 who are still at home. It doesn't mean that the 23-year-old homeowner is better. It just means that they set themselves on a different path. That doesn't have to be your path. But understand, if you don't enjoy the journey and take your time, it will go by so quickly. I'm 30 now. I turned 30 last year, and I'll tell you, my 20s went by like that. They will go by. You'll be looking back and be like, man, I didn't really take the time to really enjoy my journey. I didn't take the time to really sit in my truth. And now I wish I had that time back. Time is something that we can never get. It's so extremely valuable, and we can't get it back once it's gone. So make sure you are intentional and enjoy your own personal journey.
Yeah, I'm gonna finish. I'm gonna quote one more Drake quote.
Yeah, quote him. It's my guy. Go ahead.
You can steal this, bro. In 7 a.m. in Bertle Drive, he said, "I had to put my guys up the mud like we train in Marines." Like that is what I want to be able to say. I want to be able to caption. I want to pull. That's what the whole the vision, the mission is, help other people up. And I always tell people this, my mission statement came from a Plato quote. It's the duty of the enlightened is to enlighten the unenlightened. But that doesn't sound that cool, not gonna lie. So I'm gonna use the Drake quote. But you feel me? I have to put my guys out the mud like we train in Marines, man. That's something that's when I get to the day I can say that, it's I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And not for me. It's because I know I'm doing it because I'm helping my people get out of their situation. I'm helping my people grow. I'm helping my people build things and do things that they never thought was possible. Justin, man, I had a great time talking to you. Where can we connect with you at before we get into the famous 5 questions?
Oh, famous 5. Oh, okay.
We got rapid fire.
Oh, rapid fire is dope. All right. Yeah, man. We sit here talk Drake for all day. So again, man, just appreciate you letting me on your platform, and hopefully there's some value for your audience. For anyone who just wants to reach out, the best place for me right now is Instagram, the mental _ wealth podcast. So the mental THE wealth, it's gonna be DTHE mental _ wealth podcast on Instagram. You can we have a Facebook page as well. We are on YouTube. We got some stuff out there as well, but Instagram's the best place to reach us. As far as the podcast, we are on Apple, Spotify, Google, anywhere you catch podcasts. When we're in season, we release every Monday. There's about 65 or so episodes we've done in the last 2 years. So check us out, listen to a few episodes, leave a review, give us some feedback. And if there's any way that I can, support, you and your dreams and things that you're doing and support your community, just reach out to me, let me know.
Amazing. So let's get into it, man. What is the most impactful lesson you've learned in life?
I'll steal from a scripture, Matthew chapter 7, verses 12. Jesus said there that whatever you do I'm just going to misquote it. He says, whatever you do unto others as you would want to do unto yourself, the golden rule, essentially. So treat others how you want to be treated.
What is the most admirable trait a person can have?
Love, because love is interesting, and this is also going back to my religious roots, but love is the first fruit of the Spirit, mentioned in Galatians, and there's a lot of other qualities mentioned, long suffering and peace and joy, right? But love is the first thing, because if we don't have love is the foundation. So I think if we loved more, this world will be a much better place. Everything else can stem from love.
100%, man. If you had to change someone's life with one book, which book would you recommend?
Change their life. One of my all-time favorite book is The Outsiders. So I would say The Outsiders.
Who's that by?
I don't know the author. I can't even tell you. I read that in high school. The Outsiders, but that book stays with me to this day. Outsiders, yeah.
What is the legacy that you're trying to leave behind?
I want to leave behind my passion, my love, my passion for people. I want to leave behind a legacy of reminding men and women that it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to show your emotions. It's okay to be exactly who you are, and that there's light at the end of the tunnel, and that there's value just in your existence.
And if anyone wanted to embark on their walk to wealth today, what do you recommend the first step be?
Before you can be on the walk to wealth, and before you can go out there and be extremely successful in the entrepreneur world or anything you choose to do, take time out to find out who you are. Take time to love on you, to learn self-love, self-care techniques. Make sure that you take out time to discover exactly who you are and what you want to be, and understand that can change over time. It's okay to adapt and evolve, but take care of you first, and everything else will fall in place.
And Justin, you came in and brought some serious nuggets. I appreciate you hopping on, man. I know, as I said it before we hit record, man, I was so inspired by your story. I was like, yeah, I got to get him on. We got to collab. So I'm glad we were able to make this work and hop on the podcast and just drop some serious nuggets, man. I appreciate you coming on.
Light and love, brother. Thanks for having me on, man, and can't wait to support you further, brother.